so that if anybody is not able to participate, they could review this later if they want to.
Where will it be available?
It'll be in the files. It'll be,
Okay.
I'll get my tech guy to help me figure it out. But we'll put it in the files in the Groups
Okay.
IO classroom for Adagio.
Okay. Okay.
Deborah, you're muted.
Where do we find the videos? It talks about videos.
Uh-huh. Yes. Okay. So this morning I posted my lesson.
Right, got that.
And in the lesson, there are links to the videos. There are 3 links today. There is a playlist that is all of the videos for the class. For those of you who are proficient stitchers and you want to get a jump on everybody else, that way you can review the videos whenever you need to. And then I also gave you a link to the 2 videos for today. The Kitties Double Fan Doubled is in 2 parts. There's one part that is the regular double fan doubled. Then there's the second part, which is the 3rd layer. And so I strongly encourage you to look at the video because it will help you quite a bit to figure out how to do this, because it can be a little bit intimidating. It's not hard. None of the stitches are hard. They're just something that you may not have done before. And so the videos are there so that you can see me actually stitching it. Now, I'm not going to be doing stitch demonstrations during the conference. For the conference, what I'm going to be doing is pointing out some things to call to your attention, asking you if you have any questions about anything so that I can answer the questions. I do have a lesson plan. Yay me, so I can stay on track. And I see that there's somebody asking. Oh, okay. I can't get everybody in my gallery view at once, but when you ask a question, I think that it will highlight you. And if I don't find you right away, just bear with me. I will find you so that you can ask the question and I can look at your face while you're asking the question.
I do have a question real quick.
Sure.
It's actually about the around the road stitches. I don't know if you can see where I'm pointing on the pattern.
Yeah.
Where the brown is what's in the picture different from what's charted in the book? Is it different?
Okay. Hold it up again. Let me look at it. A little bit closer. Okay. Now point to where you're talking about.
This area right here where there's the brown triangles.
Those are Sprat's heads.
Uh-huh.
And they are charted exactly in the book, exactly as I stitched them. Are you thinking that I use different threads because the color looks different?
No, it's just the Sprat heads looked like it did like has a big box, where this looks like it's like 2 triangles on a diagonal. Okay.
I'm not sure I'm understanding what you're asking, and so just bear with me and we'll figure it out. Let's go to the, let me go to my PowerPoint. I'm going to share my screen with you in just a second.
Yes.
Current slide. Okay. Nope, shoot. Let me escape from that. Okay, share screen.
I don't know, maybe I'm just seeing it funny. Not a big deal.
No, it's fine. Okay, so here's the main graph. Can everybody see that?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. And let me, are you talking about this area right here?
Yeah, but
Okay.
it's where it looks like there's a big square with like two triangles next to it, where on the front picture, it looks like it's, if in that whole space, it's 1, 2, 3, 4 triangles instead of a square.
No, this is all one stitch. Now, because it's stitched with neon rays reflects the light differently depending on the angle. And so that's why it looks different, because it looks like this is one part and this is one part and this is a separate part. That's all one stitch.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, like I said, it just, it looks different to me on the front of the book, so.
Yes, and that's because of the light reflectivity of the neon rays.
Okay.
Okay.
That is probably it. Sorry.
Does that help?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Because I've never stitched with neon rays, so I would not know about the color variation.
Okay, well, we'll do that next week, unless you jump ahead. But neon rays is a rayon thread, and it's very light reflective. And DMC will do the same thing. It will look different based on the angle of the light. And so I get this question a lot from various students, and they'll say, did you use something different? Because it doesn't, you know, the diagram doesn't look what it would, but that's the way it looks. And so, and that's one reason why we like to use those kinds of threads, is because it does give you a little bit different look, even though you haven't used a different thread. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It's a hologram look, probably.
Yeah, kind of. And so, yeah, I love neon rays, and I use them a lot, as people who've stitched my designs are very well aware. And I also use rayon floss, and I like it because it adds shine without adding glitz like a metallic would. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so those of you who ordered a kit, rolled into your canvas, you received a large main graph and a large color picture. If you ordered instructions only, you did not receive that. So you can access that. I put the main graph in the files and a large picture in the files, and you can enlarge it on your screen to look at as much as you need to. I have put all of the diagrams for today in the files. Now, when I am doing my diagrams, I try to be as thorough as possible. So there are, I think, 40 or 50 diagrams already, because I did the double fan doubled step by step. And because I am not restricted by printing, some of the diagrams are in color to help you see the various threads and the layers. And so I will do color as much as I think is necessary in the diagrams in the files. In the book, they're all printed in grays and black and white, because printing in color is very expensive. In order to keep the cost somewhat reasonable, I don't print in color. Does everybody understand that?
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Okay. Today, what I wanted to talk, and I'm not going to go over all of the instructions that are in the book. Y'all can read, right? Everybody can read, right? And that would be boring, and it would be a bad use of your time. So what I'm going to do today is to point out a few things that I think will help you as you stitch. So the first thing is, this is a question that comes up quite frequently when I'm teaching a class, is how to start and stop threads. And so I have started using pin stitches as much as possible. But this creates a little issue if you don't know where to put the pin stitch. And I do all of my pin stitches from the front. The reason why I do them from the front is it saves time. I don't have to turn the canvas over and find something else on the back or whatever. And a lot of these stitches that we're going to be doing are really long, loose, floppy stitches that don't have a lot of thread on the back, and you can't weave through on the back like you normally would. And so to learn how to do a pin stitch and where to put a pin stitch is a very useful skill. And so I'm going to share my screen with you and show you a diagram, and we're going to figure out where to put the pin stitch. Okay, let's go there. Let's share this screen. And I'm going to go to the next slide. There are videos in my PowerPoint, but we're not going to be looking at the videos. And so let me just get past those. Okay, so the very first thing in the whole project is a double cross. There are double crosses outlining the whole center diamond. And you need to do those first because it will be a lot easier to stitch the double fan doubled if you have parameters or boundaries that you're stitching toward. Does that make sense? Okay,
Yeah.
now if you want to, you can always use an away knot. And when I'm using an away knot, I would put my knot and stitch, I would put my knot somewhere here and stitch toward it. Can everybody see that?
Yes.
Does that make sense? Okay. Now, if you want to start practicing with a pin stitch, what I would recommend is to find where your first double cross is going to be. Okay, can you see? This is where the majority of the threads are crossing. And so I would do a pin stitch in the shape of a T. I would stitch here, I would stitch here, and I would stitch here, crossing one canvas thread, and it makes the shape of a T. Then you stitch your double cross over it. Does that make sense? Does anybody have any questions about that?
I do.
Okay.
In something I saw, you did it just over one strand. Are you saying kind of do it in almost a box shape?
I'll show you.
For this?
I'll demonstrate for you.
Okay.
A pin stitch can take several different forms. One form is the shape of a T, where you would
Okay.
make 3 stitches and it would make a T, and all the stitches end in the same hole. Another way is to make in the shape of an L. And again, I do 3 stitches. And if you wanted to do an L stitch for this one, I would stitch here, I would stitch here, and then I would come back again and stitch over the first one. Okay? And then the third option on a pin stitch is to do 3 times over the same canvas thread. Now, learning when and which shape of T-stitch or pin stitch you need to make is like I said, a useful skill, because then you can look at the what I do is I look at my finished diagram. Close that down. I look at my finished diagram to determine where are the bulk of the threads crossing. Where would be a good place to put a pin stitch? So for instance, I'm sorry, did somebody have a question?
No, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. Let me see if I can advance this a little bit. Oh, I was going to show you that. I'll come back to that.
Debbie,
Yes.
is the end of the thread, is it underneath or is it on top of the canvas and then you trim it?
It's on top of the canvas and then I trim it.
Thank you.
Okay, so if I were going to do a pin stitch, this is the final double fan doubled diagram. So you go to the last diagram for the stitch that you're wanting to do a pin stitch. And you can see that all of the threads are kind of congregating around the center. So this is where you would put your pin stitch. And so I would do a pin stitch 3 times over the same canvas thread, close to the center, not in the center, but close to the center. And I do it from the front. I hold on to the tail. Let me see if I can, I'll stop sharing this and let me see if I can go to my, come on. Well, I'm trying to get to my canvas picture, so I've got it set up and ready to use. I might as well use it. But I can't seem to get to it for some reason. Why can I not get to it? Speaker view, let me go to that. Nope, that's not it. Review, that's not it. And pin that one. Okay, can everybody see my canvas now? Can y'all see that?
No.
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 Okay.
See yourself. Is it over here?
Oh, it's way up there. Yeah, it's.
Hey
I-
Debbie,
Yeah.
Debbie, can I make a suggestion?
Sure.
If everybody could mute their microphone unless they're asking a question, because what happens is even if somebody turns a page or coughs, the screen goes from you to them, and then I can't see you anymore.
Okay.
And I
How
think you
do
can
I
do that too.
mute?
So down, Debbie,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, just because I'm a geek.
No, go ahead.
If you go down in your left-hand corner of the bottom of your screen, you should see a microphone and it says mute. If you click on that, you can mute it on and off. And Debbie, I'm not sure, but I think you can control muting too. And now I won't say anything else.
No, that's fine. And the reason why I'm not controlling muting is I've got a lot of other things I'm trying to manage
I get
right
you.
now.
I get you, sorry.
Okay, so let me see if I can show you how to do a pin stitch. And because I figured that if this was going to take a little bit of time. Okay, so I'm entering from the front of the canvas.
I cannot see your canvas.
Okay,
I can't see it either, Debbie. I can see
Okay.
your frame and I can see that you're going down into something, but I can't actually see it.
You know what you're gonna have to do, Debbie, is it's
What?
up there in your, everybody pinned you and you're in a big, well, it's up there. I think you're gonna have to go back to gallery view for everybody to see it.
okay.
If you
If
see,
you go to,
see, it's tiny though. See what I'm
if you
saying?
go, if you
Okay.
go to gallery view and click on it, there's like a pin video or something.
Oh,
And if you
right,
click
yeah.
on that, it makes her large on your screen.
I did that. Oh, but now I can just see the pin. I mean, I just see the diagram. So that's fine.
Okay. I have done what I know how to do. And on my screen, because I have pinned this, I see it quite large.
Share your screen.
I can see it on my whole screen, and it's because I pinned. So if you look at all, you see all the people on
Right.
different ones. Find the one that's just a picture of a canvas. And when you find that one, click on it and say pin it. And that'll bring her up, that'll bring the canvas. She's not doing anything, it's just the canvas there right now.
That works. Thank you very much.
Okay,
that help?
good.
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna, now I'm gonna do my pin stitch. Okay, so I've entered the canvas from the front. Whoop. I need to hang on to the tail so it doesn't slip through. There we go. And the angle that I'm at is a little bit sideways, but I just go over a single canvas thread. I go over a single canvas thread to make the shape of a T. And then I go over a single canvas thread. And I'm entering the same hole. And the reason why I'm entering the same hole is that if I pierce the thread, it just helps to hold it better. And then I will just snip off the tail close to the canvas. There's my pin stitch and my thread is anchored. Okay, does that help? Now, if I were going, I'm just gonna bring my needle up over here. I'm gonna do it in the shape of an L. I'm just gonna snip this off so I can. Oh, I'm going to stitch over a single canvas thread, over a single canvas thread this way, and then I'm going to go back over the first one. And then just snip that off. Now, I know some people instruct pin stitches in only going over the thread twice. I find it better to go over it 3 times. Holds it very securely. If you've ever had to rip out something because you got it in the wrong spot and you needed to rip it out and move it, you know how hard it is to get these pin stitches out. Okay, now I'm going to go up 3 times
Debbie,
over this.
Debbie,
Yes.
I have a question.
Sure.
Does it always have to be horizontal, vertical, or can it be diagonal?
I've done it diagonal.
Okay.
I've done pin stitches. If I was doing a diagonal, needed to put it where it was going to be covered by a diagonal line, I do 3 stitches in a row on the diagonal.
Okay.
And that holds it as well.
Thank you.
Okay. Now here's 3 times over the same canvas thread. Now this, if you're using a bulky thread, like silk lame braid or a metallic braid or watercolors, this may make a little lump. And so it's not a good choice for satin stitch because satin stitchers are smooth and flat. But this also holds very securely. So that's, let me show you how to do it in a diagonal line, if I were to do it in a diagonal line.
I have a question, Debbie.
Okay.
So when you do this at the beginning and you do this at the end, right?
Yes.
When you have a stitch. Okay. So I've run into the problem that what if this is the last stitch of that color and you have to go back into the stitch to do a pin stitch, and sometimes you can kind of see it. Is that okay?
I try to put it where it's not going to be seen. And one of the things that I do is, let me do a real quick, let's see, can we see this? Yeah, we can see this. Okay. I'm going to anchor my thread to start. And then I think I'm just going to stitch a sprat's head because we'll do that next week. But that would be really easy for me to demonstrate. Let's see if that's going to be 1, 2. Well, if I can keep my needle in my hand. Okay. So here is the first 2 stitches for my sprat's head. And I'm just going to make a little small right angle sprat's head. Okay, so this is just for purposes of the demonstration. Okay, can everybody see this okay? So what I would do is I would gently move the threads aside using either the tip of my finger or a laying tool until I can see a blank piece of canvas. So here's where I'm going to do a pin stitch to end. And I do this from the front. I'm just going to go a couple of times. Now at the end, you only need to do twice because there's no more tension on the thread when you're finishing the stitch. And this thread's a little bit bulky. Okay, then I pull it up. I've got a lot of tension on it and my canvas is actually pulled up. So when I snip it off, it kind of sucks the end back down and then I just stroke the threads back over it and that hides it.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate
Okay.
it.
It's not always possible to do that, but when you can, it makes for a nicer finish. I've got all my wires and stuff caught up on me. Let me go back to me. Okay, can everybody see me now? Okay, let's go to a gallery view just so I can see your faces. I do this as much as possible to start and stop every thread. And the reason for that is it's faster. It's a lot faster. If you're not having to turn your canvas over and lose your focus and then turn it back over to find where you were stitching, it's a lot faster to just learn how to do these pin stitches quickly and efficiently. Does that help? Okay, next week we will talk about probably the third week. We'll talk about doing a loop start. We don't need to do a loop start for right now. The other thing you can do, you can always do an away knot. Now, the reason why I don't like away knots so much is because when I am finished stitching a stitch, I don't want to have to weave an end to end. And so, because I'm done and I'm ready to move on and do the next thing. And so that's one reason why I don't like away knots. But that's just a personal preference. If you like away knots, you're accustomed to using away knots, and that's the way that you want to start and stop your threads, that's fine with me. All you have to, you know, an away knot enters the canvas from the front of the canvas. You stitch toward it to cover the tail. When you come to the knot, you clip it off. And then to end the stitch, you can kind of do like a reverse waist knot. Bring the thread to the front of the canvas in an area that you're stitching toward, and then when you make your next stitches, you'll cover that tail and you can clip off any excess. Does that make sense?
Right.
Okay. I wanted to talk to you about some options for the double cross. So let me go back to that area. Okay, and escape that real quick. Escape, go back to y'all. I know what I'm doing on the computer sometimes, but obviously today not very well. Okay, here is another option from the current slide. I still did not share my screen. Hold on, let me share my screen.
You're doing great, Debbie. This is really, really, really hard to do. So kudos to you. I couldn't do it, and this is my forte. So you're doing great.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Okay, so let me go from this slide. Okay, so the double cross is an upright cross first and then a cross stitch over it. So if you want to get really fancy, and I didn't do this, but if you wanted to get really fancy, you could stitch all of this part with one thread and then stitch the cross stitch over it with another thread like a metallic. Okay, and if you also, you can also stitch just this part to double check your count and make sure that you're okay before you proceed. And you can stitch just this part to make sure that everything is lined up the way it needs to. And when we're in class, this is what I have them do. I have them stitch just the upright cross stitches, because stitching a double cross can take a long time, and that way they'll get their area bounded and then we can move on to the double fan double. You don't have that issue because you're stitching at home on your own schedule. And so you're not going to have that issue. And you can stitch all of the whole double cross all at the same time if you wanted to, or if you wanted to stitch just this part with, what did we use? The watercolors? Is that what I indicated? Okay.
Yeah.
Just this part with the watercolors, and then come back with one of the metallics over the top of it for the cross stitch. That also looks really nice, and I've had students that did that, and it turned out great. So you can do that if you want to. Does anybody have any questions about that? Where'd I go? There we go, meeting control. Nope. Where am I? There I am. I need to stop sharing my screen. Now I can't find me. Thank you for your patience as I learn how to do all this stuff. Well, I'm supposed to be in my meeting controls and I can't find them. So let me see, downsize this. Let me go to this. Plus I have a new computer. There we go. Okay, now we can stop sharing. Can everybody see me now? Now that I'm off the PowerPoint. Okay.
Yeah, you look gorgeous.
Yeah, we can see you.
Hey, I put on makeup today. I live out in the country. I hardly ever go anywhere. I never wear makeup.
Yeah, that's more than I. So you're way ahead of me.
I think the makeup industry is going to go broke after this pandemic.
Right.
I think so. But, you know, it's so silly. I have spent a really unusual amount of money on lipstick. And I have to wear a mask everywhere. Nobody can see my lipstick. What on earth am I doing?
That is funny.
But anyway, okay. So next thing. Okay, I wanted to talk to you about common errors when you're doing the double fan doubled. Please watch the video. Watch the video as many times as you need to. And even in class, when I'm showing the video for the double fan doubled, I will start and stop it. You know, we'll do the base. I stop the video and make sure everybody has their base in and counted correctly. Then I start it, we do the next round. We stop it, everybody does the next round. So you can do this at home while you're stitching on your own. And that way you will be able to step by step go through it, just the same as if I were sitting in front of you and stitching it. That's what the video is for. So now let me see if I can go back to my, well, I'm not going to do that just yet. I wanted to go over some of the common mistakes that students make when they're stitching a double fan doubled or approaching it for the first time. One of the most common things is to get off the diagonal. Well, this is not really going to be a problem because you have an area bounded by the double crosses that is going to confine the double fan doubled and give you a target for your diagonal lines. But this is where most people, when they're stitching a double fan doubled, this is where they get off, is they get off of the diagonal line. Does anybody have any questions about that? Okay. Now, when you're stitching a double fan doubled, your motion is always the same. You're going to, and I know that Carol Lake does it differently, okay? I'm aware of that. This is how I do it. You can do it the way Carol Lake does it. It's fine. It's still going to look the same. But when you are weaving the two double fans together, the motion is over, under, and down. And you bring the needle up and you go over, under, and down. No matter where you bring the needle up, you're going to go over first, then under, then over, then under. Okay? And where people get off is they start off and they get 2 rounds in going over and under, and then they switch and go under and over. Now, and so this is where they get off, and they wind up with something that looks more woven than the threads laying beside each other the way that they need to lay beside each other. How many of you have stitched double fan doubles before?
I have.
Oh yes, Debbie, I have stitched many of them. Or the same one over and over again, as you well know.
Yeah.
Just recently with Royal Garden.
Yes. Okay. So when you look at the full color picture, let me go to that. Let me see if I can share the screen and get out of it after I've shared it. Share screen. Let me go to here. Share. Let me, what happened? It did not go to the share. Oh, it says you are screen sharing.
You are
You
screen
are.
sharing.
I can
Okay.
You're in your slideshow.
Okay, but I can't see it. So let me
Right
see
now
if I
your
can.
It says, how do I turn on autosave?
Yeah, no, I don't need to turn that on. Okay, hang on just a second. Let me downsize this. Okay, I don't need to turn on autosave. I need to get that off. I need to go to the beginning because I want to show you the picture. There we go. Okay, let me move this around over here. Okay, do I have a laser pointer? Look at the center. Let me see if I can y'all see that? I wonder if I can zoom this in a little bit. Zoom in. Okay, here we go. And now I've lost my laser pointer and I apologize, but look at this center. Can you see this? Can you see how these threads, it shows up really well with these threads. They're all laying beside each other. They're not on top of each other. They're just beside each other. These threads are beside each other. These threads are beside each other. These threads are, this is the look that you're going for. And so always refer back to the picture to compare what you're doing to the way the picture looks so that you can, okay, did I stop sharing? Okay, good. Yes. We're learning. I'm going to figure this out. So that if you always compare to the picture that you have a full picture on the front, you have a picture in the Groups IO that you can enlarge and really look at the center of it if you need to, so that you can make sure that you don't get off track. I would do a couple of rounds and look and see, is this the look that I'm getting? Is this what I have achieved? And if you were not, then you might want to stop at that point and either email me and ask me a question or review the video again so that you don't get the whole thing in and then go, oh, it doesn't look right. I would rather that you start and stop and check yourself as you go to make sure that you're doing it correctly. Does that help? Does that make sense?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
After you've done a couple of rounds, you can take that center pin out and it will still hold? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and get rid of it as quickly as possible.
Okay.
The reason to get rid of it as soon as you can is you might catch your threads underneath as you're going around. And then when you pull the pin out, you've got this knot looking wad of stuff on the back and the threads loosen on the front. And so As soon as I get the center established, I take the pin out. I know that there's some people that are afraid to do that, and that's fine if you want to leave it in the whole time, but keep a hold on the bottom end of it. See, I cannot, let me see. So I hang on to the bottom end of it as I'm stitching to make sure that I don't wiggle it or catch threads, and I will feel on the back, and if you need to, turn over the canvas and look at the back of it and make sure you're not catching threads on the back. Does that help, Kathy? Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Does anybody have any other questions about this part of the double fan doubled before we move on? Everybody okay?
Okay.
Okay. So now, the thing about a kitty's double fan doubled and what makes the center of this one look different is after you stitch the first two parts of the first part of it using the two colors of pearl cotton, I think, then you're going to come back and stitch the third part of it with a metallic. And here is where you change directions. Instead of going over and under, you're going to go under and over. And what that does is it compresses the center together and gives it that look. But you'll do all of those the same way, under and then over. But don't do under and over until you have finished all of the overs and unders. Like I said, watch the video as many times as you need to. It will help you. And if you have any questions about it, I will be glad to assist you. Okay.
Debbie,
Yes.
one thing I did the whole thing before we started this session just to see if I'd have questions about it. And everything looked gorgeous on the front. And then when I flipped it over to end the thread, realized that with the metallic that I caught it a few places and there were some loops or whatever in the thread. I think just the character of the metallic. But it was like, oh, rats. Now I better undo the whole thing. Yeah.
Well, I hope you didn't undo the whole thing. I hope you just only undid the metallic.
Just the metallic. Just the metallic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. But it was, yeah, just because I thought, okay, well, all those loose bits at the back are going to become loose bits at the front if I don't, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and you know, if we were in class, I would probably be able to help you work through that. But it requires pulling each thread individually in the order that you stitched.
Oh, exactly, exactly. And, you know, I thought about that, but then I realized there actually also was one of those little tangled knots, you know, little crinks.
Yeah, metallic does that.
Yeah,
and
it was like, oh, geez.
the one thing that I do when I'm stitching with a metallic is after I've unreeled it. See, do I have a metallic here? Oh, I do. Okay. This one's not a really good one to show you because it doesn't have a whole lot of stretch to it. But you know, I don't know, can y'all see that? Probably not. When you unreel the metallic, it has curls in it. And that's just the nature of being on the reel. So what I do is I take it and wind it between my fingers and then just gently pull. And that releases some of the curls from the, I don't recommend using a flat iron on a round thread because you can flatten the braid. Yeah. I had a student in one of my classes who told me she ironed all of her threads and she took her flat iron to her silk lame braid and completely smooshed it and flattened it out. It was no longer round.
Yeah.
And so because a braided thread is a round thread, I don't recommend using your flat iron on round threads like pearl cotton. Sometimes I've used them on metallic successfully, but you have to be real ginger with it. And certainly not with silk lame braid or something like that. They work best. You can iron silk floss, cotton floss, rayon floss, which I do, and flat ribbons. And I've ironed all of the flat ribbons, including flare. You just have to be quick and don't let it linger in one place. And I've even ironed it after I started stitching with it. If it started to look a little tacky, I would just take my flat iron and run it from the canvas up the length of the thread, just to get it back into its place. Okay?
Yep.
And then when you're ready to end your threads for your double fan doubled, what I showed you about ending with a pin stitch under the Sprat's Head little demonstration that I did, that's how I end my threads, because on the back, the stitches are real loose, and it's really difficult to get a secure anchor by weaving into the backs of the double fan double. You can, if you want to, weave into the back of the double crosses, but especially with the metallic, make sure it doesn't show through to the front, and it might. And so you just have to be really cautious about that. Does anybody have any questions about that? Are we all good?
Yeah, I want to ask one. So
Sure.
what you do is you put your thread in the center where all to end it.
Uh-huh.
Wherever you are, you still put it way over in the center, right?
I put it where it will be covered.
Yeah, so that would be the center. Because
Close to the center, yes.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Does that help?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, and I do it from the front. If you do it from the back, you might catch the threads on the front. You have to do this from the front. Now, you don't have to clip it off from the front. If you want to, you can take it back to the back one more time and clip it off on the back if you're nervous about clipping threads on the front. And that can be a little nerve-wracking if you've got this beautiful double fan double that you've got it all stitched into place, and you're afraid that if you take your scissors onto the front of it that you might accidentally cut those threads. So what you do is you just go ahead and pull it to the back one more time and clip it off from the back. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So Debbie, this is Constance. So you're
Hi,
saying,
Constance.
yes, you're saying that you're putting your first pin head under that stitch, and then you're putting your ending pin head under that stitch as well.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I
Yes.
just want to make sure. I've never put them under the stitches. I use pin heads, but I'd never put them under the stitches. That's something new for me.
Yeah, and I like to stitch fast. That means I can go on to the next thing quickly. And it's faster if you use your pin stitches to end, and you do it from the front, because every time you flip your canvas over, it slows things down.
Oh, okay.
Now, if you're not comfortable with it, don't do it. But, you might try it just to see.
Oh, I'm willing to try it. So that's not a problem. It's good to try something new.
That's why you take a class.
Debbie,
Yes.
so your last stitch, then you would start to, if you do it from the front, don't you have to have an extra stitch to put it over to the center?
Let me share my screen again. Let's go back to the picture. Okay, so can y'all see my cursor? For some reason my laser pointer has disappeared. Yeah. Okay. What I do is I take, and right in here, I separate the threads just a little bit until I can see the canvas underneath. Okay. And I even will take my thumbnail and move these threads aside until I can get a clear picture of what's underneath. Then I do my pin stitch twice over the same canvas thread, and then I clip it off. Then I take my finger or my laying tool or my needle and smooth the threads back into place. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I just wondered if you do your last stitch and it's, oh, I see, never mind, I got it. I just got it. Yeah, okay.
And if you're nervous about that, you can always practice in the margin of your canvas from the front to see, do I like this? Do I not like this? Do I think I could get used to doing this? It's an option. Stop sharing. Okay, now we're back, right? Hey, that was a lot faster. Oh, thanks for the thumbs up. Okay. That was basically what I wanted to cover today. Y'all have been fumbling around with me for about an hour. So does anybody have any questions about this lesson? This is the double crosses and the kitties double fin doubled. Where to access the things in Groups.io or my email address or anything? Does everybody know how to contact me should they need to?
I do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
And I try to respond as quickly as I can. Usually I'm sitting on top of my computer all day, every day, and so I can respond really quickly. If I don't, so a little personal information that you may or may not need. We go to bed really early. My husband's company is an international company. He works from home, and his project that he's working on is in Scotland.
Oh boy.
So we go to bed at 9 o'clock every night. That's Central Time, because he gets up at 3:30 every morning.
Wow.
So that he can have hours that correspond somewhat to the hours in Scotland. And so we have gotten used to doing that. And so if you try to contact me after about 8:30 at night, I may or may not respond because we're in bed.
Well, that's
And
fair.
I don't get up at 3:30 in the morning. I do not. I get up when I get up. So, which is usually about 6. But anyway, I'll respond as quickly as I can. Remember that I'm on Central Time. We've got some international students. We've got students on both coasts and in Canada and all over the place. And so just remember that I'm on Central Time, and it's currently almost 11 a.m. where I am.
Right.
Okay?
Debbie, can I ask you a question not about the kitty fan double,
Sure.
Dan? Okay. So, and you may have said this before I got on the call, but in the, right by the upright crosses, it's like that honey gold, but some of it looks like it's dark brown. You
Yes.
talked about that, didn't you?
Yes, we did, but that's okay. It is all stitched with the same thread,
Okay, that's all I need to know.
but because it reflects light differently, it
Okay.
looks different.
Perfect. That's all I needed to know. Thank you.
Okay.
That's what I thought, but I wanted to be sure.
Yeah, that's it.
Debbie,
Yes.
Nancy Noyes.
Hi,
I have a
Nancy.
question. Can you hear me?
Sure.
Okay. I have done the whole piece because I've got 3 more pieces that I'm going to be getting. Truly a joy.
Well, thank you.
But during the the stitches she was just talking about.
The sprat's head.
Thank you, ma'am. After I got finished, I have 2 of them that are twisted. Do you have a good way that I can untwist them? I've tried taking a thread to do it, and that has not worked.
Well, congrats on finishing without any videos or help from me. So anyway,
Oh, I
congratulations.
had all the help from your book. It was terrific.
Well, thank you. Okay, so what I do when I'm working with ribbon and it gets twisted and I notice that it's twisted, I will take my needle or my laying tool and run it underneath to see if I can flatten it out and then follow it into the holes of the canvas. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes.
And then on the back, if it still is not going to untwist itself, I will do the same thing on the back to see if I can untwist it from the back.
Okay, thank you.
And if I'm unsuccessful, I just have to pull it out. Now, neon rays does have a tendency to get a little tacky when you have to rip with it, but I'm a very frugal stitcher and I don't throw it away. I just re-iron it and stitch with it.
Okay,
It usually works out great. So, but
okay,
anyway.
great. Thank you.
And if I could encourage you, Nancy, and Jane, I think you finished as well, right? I could encourage you to go ahead and put pictures of your finished projects in the photos section for inspiration and
Yes,
encouragement
please.
for the rest of
How.
our stitchers.
Yeah, no, I can't. I'm just pleased that I got on Zoom today, but I don't think I can post the picture.
Well, if you want to send me a picture and give me permission, I'll post it for you.
If I can figure out how to do that, I will, okay?
Okay, Nancy. I know, all of this is new for all of us. And I am continually learning new things about how to use the computer and how to do things with it that I did not know before. And, my husband, who is a computer professional and has been in IT for 45 years, goes, well, I had no idea you didn't know how to do that. Like, it's just so intuitive. It's not intuitive. And you can't find really help anywhere. You just have to kind of stumble through it. So.
Granddaughter's and she helped me get on.
Oh, well, good.
So
Well, I don't live near anybody that can help me. But the other thing that I got so excited about reading your email is this way of teaching is sharing what we love with the younger people.
Yes, I think so too. Mm-hmm. And I think it's going to be employed more and more as more of the teachers, because let's face it, none of us are computer professionals. We're stitching professionals. We're not computer professionals. And as we become more comfortable with the options available to us, we will be offering more things.
I shared with Debbie personally how she gave me deja vu moments. I taught online for 15 years, and I have seen how it has changed over those 15 years. But it was like whenever I traveled to seminars or whatever, it was have laptop will travel. And a few people have witnessed me stitching all day and then coming up to the room at night and teaching my classes. So Debbie, I'm going to tell it in front of everybody, you are doing a fantastic job and answering every question and whatever. You'll probably hope you won't get students like I've had that think you live in the computer and can't understand why you didn't get back to them in a timely fashion. And I had one student call me on the carpet for that. I was contacted by our IT department and they didn't think it sounded like me. I said, oh, I apologize. I got back to them in 23 minutes. Should it have been 22 or, whatever. So you're doing a fantastic job. And I really enjoyed stitching the piece. If you want to upload my photo, because I'm not sure how to do it, feel free to do so.
Okay.
Okay. If you have trouble with your stuff, how to do on your computer, you can always Google it. You can always go
yes,
such and such, and you can usually get some kind of an answer or someplace to go. So,
well, Deborah, a lot of times my problem is I don't know how to phrase the question in a way that Google can answer it. And so sometimes I have to make several attempts at it to get my questions answered. But yes, I'm very adept at Googling all kinds of things.
And YouTube, you go to YouTube, and the University of YouTube is what I call it.
Debbie, I have a question.
Okay, Deborah.
You're referring to videos. Watch the videos over and over again, and I can't find any videos. So if you clarify that for me.
Okay, this morning I sent a message to our classroom, to Groups.io.
Right.
They've received an email from me that said lesson 1 has been posted.
I got that, yes.
In that email are links to the videos.
Okay. I went to groups and I saw the lesson PDF and I saw the main graph PDF and the Zoom meeting information PDF. And then in the email, I found the lessons and the groups, but I didn't find any group links. But I didn't find links to videos.
You have to go to a different email. She has the email for the following files, and then you go down to the next email and it says, I've put lesson 1 in, and then it says a few things, and then you go down and it says, here are the video links to Adagio, whatever.
Adagio.
That's that anyway, Adagio. So you have to, she sent 2 emails and you have to look at both of them. Get your, one, you get your lesson, and the next tells you.
I found it, I had like 50 emails this morning. We're separated by about 20 other emails. Thank you very much.
Oh, I'm glad you found it, Deborah. I'm so happy you found it. I will get with our administrator for Groups.io and ask about putting, I don't know if I could put links to the videos in the groups files section. And frankly, the videos are all hosted on YouTube. And I don't know that we need to host them again in Groups.io because it's really going to take up a lot of room. So if you can't find the links, send me an email and I will email them to you.
Well, since they're all in YouTube and they're all there for the entire class, you should just hit subscribe once you open the first one, and it'll put them all in your library.
These are private emails.
Oh, they are?
You can only access them from the links that I send you. And the reason for that is you paid to take the class.
Sure.
So this is a value added for people who pay to take the class.
All right, so, yeah, because I went to them and I see them there. Okay, great.
You shouldn't have any trouble playing the videos, and I will repeat the playlist in the email I send you every week. And then I will also send you specific links for the videos for that day, for that lesson. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, great.
Yeah,
okay.
Great.
I try to do as much as I can to make it easy, because I hate having to hunt for stuff. I really hate having to hunt for stuff.
Abby, to put the URLs in the file section, you probably just need to start like a Word document and paste the link into the Word document and then post the Word document into the files.
Well, I can do that, but then people have to copy and paste to put it into their browser instead of just hitting the link. And this can sometimes be a problem.
Tricky.
For people who are not as familiar with how to use their computer, and it's just easier to just have it in the email and then hit the link.
Dan.
But I will do that if the class would like for me to.
I appreciate all the work you're going to help us out and to get all these videos and information.
I think it's wonderful. It's wonderful that you're doing these Zoom things are fabulous.
Well,
so,
good.
I agree, Debbie. Thank you very much. And by the end of week 8, we'll all be a pro at Zoom.
Yeah.
We will keep our fingers crossed because I'm doing this 3 times a week. So hopefully by next week, it will not be an issue.
Yep.
Great.
I do Zoom meetings several times a day on the days of the week. So I am real familiar with it. And sometimes there's more than 200 people in the meetings that I attend. And we use the raise hand feature a lot, which you don't have as many people in your group here in the class. If one day you had a lot of people, you might want to try the raise hand feature so that people don't interrupt each other and you can just call on them. So
Okay, thank you. Yeah, Kelly had told me that she is well versed in Zoom as well. And so I appreciate all the tips and hints because I'm not, and I'm learning,
Well,
but hopefully I'll figure it out.
Oh, I was gonna say the other thing, Debbie, that might help you, especially if some of these groups get really big, is if you do have a few of us who are familiar with Zoom and the features, you could designate somebody as a co-host once you
Oh, okay,
started.
that'd be perfect.
And they can keep track of what's happening in the participants thing, if people are raising their hands, if they need to be muted, you know, because some background noise, and watch the chat feature, because that way you could focus on, you know, if you get to classes where you're going to be doing more of explaining something and don't want to keep watching that all the time, a co-host could help. So
Oh, well, thank you.
I'd
And
be
I
willing when
will
meet
not
the ones
make
I'm
anyone
on.
a co-host without your permission.
Kelly, I agree. I was going to suggest that. Then also we could post questions on the chat, and the co-host could be watching the chat and then relay it to you. So you could just focus on teaching and somebody else could do all the administrative stuff.
Like a class angel.
Yes.
Okay, does anybody have anything else that we need to discuss this morning? Are we all good?
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. Thank you so much for bearing with me and getting me through the first one. And hopefully we'll see you all next week.
You did a great job, Debbie. Yay.
Very good.
Thanks.
Yay, Debbie. Yay, Debbie.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Class is over.
Debbie, close your screen.
Okay.
Debbie, you rock. You did a great job.
Oh, thanks, sister. Or Patty, thank
Take
you.
care.
I appreciate
That's
that.
okay.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Love ya. Bye.
Love you too. Bye.
Bye.
Is dancing noise still on here?